everybody, my name is Dave. I play the saxophone and I'm here to help you play better horn. That is the sole purpose of this YouTube channel. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below or send me an email, davegoodsax@gmail.com, as one of our subscribers did, who asked how to interact with band members. That's what we're going to talk about today. How to interact with band members. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel and don't know me, I'm a rhythm and blues, rock, funk saxophone player. And I've played jazz before, and I teach jazz, but my preference is for the 1950s big Texas tenor sax sound. Tenor sax, yeah, I broke the tenor, so we're going to work with the alto today. So that's what I'm going to reference, not a jazz combo per se, but I'm going to talk about your place in a rock band or a rhythm and blues band or a blues band, okay? Now, let's get this out of the way. Your job as in that band and in any band that you're in is to make everybody sound great, okay? That's your job. You're a sideman, you're a saxophone sideman, and your job is to just sound wonderful and sound to the audience as if you have always been a member of that band. Even if it's just like your first night, you're just sitting in and maybe you don't even know those tunes. That's your job. You're kind of a pinch hitter, and your job is to come in and convince the audience that you've always played with that band. And to do that requires a great deal of skill, right? It's not the easiest thing that I'm describing for you to do, but this is not like an all-out ego job, unless you only want to work once and never get invited back again, okay? So we'll get that out of the way. I want to get right straight to the problems, and there are many of them, okay? As a sax player, you're the acoustic instrument on stage. Almost everybody else is going to be mic'd. Drums will be mic'd. Guitars, of course, are going through amps, bass, keyboards, everybody. And you will probably have a microphone too. But here's the problem. You're an afterthought. Most sax players are well outside the budget of club bands, okay? So they've decided to bring you in for whatever reasons. The planets have aligned. I don't know. It's a full moon. They say, hey, we got to have a sax player for this gig. So I bring you in. Now, here's problem number one. Most stages are the size of 2 dinner tables put together. They're not very big, right? And the band knows they've got their turf is all staked out. Quite a bit of the real estate is going to be taken up by the drums. Quite a bit's going to be taken up by the remaining amplifiers, all right? And in many of the bands that I've played in, we're talking a Marshall stack. That's a lot of amperage there. And maybe some SVT cabs the bass player has. At any rate, and then, PA gear, and monitors. You're likely to not have a monitor, right? Because you're a sideman. And the band has their particular places picked out. Keyboard guy is over here, the bass guy is over here, the guitar player is over here, the drums probably in the center of the stage. And that means they got no place for you, right? So they're going to stick you wherever there's room, and generally the only place is either behind or in front of the drums. Both those are really bad places to be, okay? In front of the drums, you're just getting full-on, the full-on onslaught of the drums. You want to be, in back of the drums, you're getting, the crash cymbal or the snare, depending on which side you're on. This is really, really hard on your hearing, and it means that you're going to have to wear some ear protection, okay? Now, the second problem is that in the bands that I've played in most of my time on stage have always been extremely loud. I mean, loud from the stage to the audience, in addition to the PA system, okay? So what we've got as a problem here is that you're hearing on stage this loud guitar, loud bass, loud drums are kicking like all heck to keep up with everybody else on the keyboard. In fact, you may not be able to hear past the sound partition that the drums create. If this drummer is right here, right, just imagine, work with me on this, right? You're not going to hear anybody on that side of the band. Ooh, that's a problem. Unless you've got a really good PA system and you've got a floor monitor. How often does that happen? In 10 years of hitting it really, really hard, never. Okay, so The sonic boom on stage is going to cause you to do one thing, and it's human nature. We're going to try to be as loud as the rest of the stuff around. We're going to try to match their volume, right? By blowing really, 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 really hard. What does that do? Well, that causes your fingers to freeze up. Now you're not going to be doing any ripping here because you're blowing so hard. And I don't know why your fingers, but muscles just tense up. We start, and everything else tenses up too. The second thing that happens, and this is even worse, is that you go out of tune. You go way out of tune. When you blow super honking hard on your saxophone, you go flat. Nature of the beast, right? So you got to tune sharp. Okay, now here's the third problem, sound check. Sound check guy is going to sound check you if there's a sound guy, okay? Sometimes you get one, sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's whoever owns the PA is the sound guy, or sound. I should be politically correct to be sound person, right? Although I've never ever worked with a woman sound person, I'm sure there are many of them. And I mean to cast no doubt on that subject. In fact, we need more women to run sound. Why? Because they have great ears. Okay. Anyway, the gig is that the sound guy is going to sound check you without the rest of the band, and you're going to sound super loud. Am I right or am I right? Yes or yes? Yeah, all by yourself, blowing through the mic, coming through the stack. You're going to sound super, super loud. So what are they going to do? They're going to back you off. Also, they're going to EQ you funny. You might be EQ'd. They might roll the top end off your horn. They might boost the mid-range or the bottom end of your horn, whatever. So whatever's coming out of the stack is not necessarily what's coming out of your horn. You know, you might like a wet sound. The sound guy might give you a very dry sound. What do I mean when I say wet or dry? Dry is just kind of straight out of the amp with no effects. Wet means you've got maybe a little reverb or a little delay or something like that. And neither of those will hurt you, all right? Really good idea to have a little delay on your sound live with a very loud band, or reverb, just a touch, just enough to give it a little dimension, a little extra room to breathe, okay? That's a huge problem, being at the mercy of the sound person who may not like saxophone, who may not be getting paid very much to do this gig, who may not know how to EQ or balance a saxophone. The sound check should happen with everybody playing at the same time, and you got to have a representative on the floor who can help you, who can look and say, hey, can I hear you or not? How many gigs have I played where people have come out and said, man, great band, but we couldn't hear you, Dave. Why is that? Because the sound guy sound checked me in isolation without the rest of the band, didn't do a full band sound check to hear how the mix would work, right? Or got some, freaky floor monitor situation where the mic feeds into the floor monitor, so they got to kick your volume way down so that, feedback. Oh man, I've been through all of these situations. There's a remedy for this, right? And it's called, you get out your credit card and you go down to Guitar Center or Sam Ash or, wherever, and you buy yourself an amplifier. Get an amplifier that's got XLR inputs for your wireless mic that you might be using. Yes, you can get a really cool wireless mic or a clip-on microphone, right? The microphones that, a stand and a mic is also a great idea. I mean, whatever you have, make sure that you own it. Bring it. Bring your own gear. Bring your own lunch to that banquet, okay? So have that gear. Bring it. Make sure it works. Make sure it's all in good working order. You got your cable, because it's going to be good. You've got your clip-on mic, your wireless mic, whatever it is, all that stuff works. And you're going through your amplifier. Now, that makes you an equal member on stage. Oh no! What happens now is the guitar player's never had to deal with this before, right? And, most of the guitar players that I have played with have been very cool people, very good musicians, but they all have voodoo child in them somewhere. They all want to cut loose, and every solo is about burning down the house. They always end on the, way the heck up there on the top end, and loud. And so generally you got to follow that, right? We'll get to that in a minute. So now you're an equal player because you've got, say, I don't know, like maybe a Roland amp or something really good like a keyboard amp that you're bringing that on stage. You've got all your gear, you've got it all set up, you got it all plugged in, and you're in control of your volume and your EQ. Oh man, does the game now change? Yes, it does change. Can you charge more? No, of course not. Band gigs in clubs don't pay very much. Band gigs at private parties, corporate events and things like that, that's where the coin is for a musician. But we're just talking about your basic band relation club gig like that. Okay, so here we are. We now have our own gear. We're set up. We're at the same level as everybody else in the band, and we're playing. All right, what is band etiquette? How do I interact with these band members? Now, if I don't know these guys, if I don't know these people, and these are unpracticed songs, I'm going to watch and listen extremely. I'm going to be very, very careful. There's no doubt there's going to be a singer in the band, and there'll be some comping behind that. Y'all know what comping is? It's when somebody sings a line, and then the guitar player or the keyboard player, or you and me, or the harmonica player comes in with a little ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. My baby don't love me no more. Doo-boo-doo-boo-doo-boo-boo. Like that, right? Well, we can all step on each other real bad in a situation like that if we haven't worked it out. Most people don't work it out. Most people just do what they've always done. And your job, remember back in the very beginning, you're supposed to sound like you're a member of this band, and you're supposed to make everybody sound really good. Your job is to fill in, not to dominate, but your job is to find a way to squeeze in when you can, all right? All right, just, politeness. Excuse me. Politeness rules here. Conversations about the songs, right? What's going on? Tuning to the members of the band, listening to them, and in the final analysis, if you are working with a flamethrower guitar player and your place in the solo chain is after, say after the guitar and before the keyboard, player, you want to listen real carefully to what that guitar player is doing. All right. Years ago, I was fortunate enough to study with Jeffrey T. Watkins, who had played the saxophone with James Brown, among others, in his career. And back when the first wave of COVID hit, I found that a lot of people had a lot of time on their hands, and I was able to get some lessons with him. Otherwise, he's far too busy as a studio and touring musician to, talk to a guy like me. Excuse me, I'm trying to not choke here. There's some coughing going on. I don't know, what, dog hair in the air perhaps? Anyway, that's what's going on, is that, you want to listen to the guitar and take something from whatever that solo is, flamethrower it may be, and you want to talk that same level of energy. You want to maybe pick the same notes, and that's where I hope you've been working on your relative pitch training, so you can figure out what is being said, what is going on, take your shot at it, and hand it off to the next musician on stage, which is generally what happens. We each get like a little bundle of energy, and we add our own energy to it, and then we pass that little bundle of energy on. And always remember that this is about an audience having a really good time. You're there to, like I said, number one, convince that audience that you've always been a member of the band. Number two, make every person in that band look really good with your playing. Help the music, right? But have a great time, connect to the audience, and really enjoy what you're doing. So we do this, right? To have a good time, right? Okay, so ear filters, not ear plugs, ear filters, filtering out the dangerous frequencies, or you can get in-ear monitors, wireless in-ear monitors. How much money you want to spend? It's up to you. All right, because I've already spent a bunch of your money on an amp and a wireless mic and a setup. But if you play a lot, you need this stuff, okay? Got to have it. And if you're going to, work up the ladder and get up into the top 10% of your craft, there's no question. You cannot depend on the sound guy who is going to mix everything like it's Woodstock, right? You cannot depend on or Dwight Yoakam. You cannot depend on a sound person. You cannot depend on the band's equipment. We got to be self-reliant here. So anyway, that's what I've got. If you have questions or you want to talk a little bit more or dive a little bit deeper into this subject, let's take a lesson here in San Diego. I'm in La Mesa. Reach out to me at davegoodsax@gmail.com. Leave me a comment below. If this works for you, hit the subscribe button. And I'm so grateful that all of you are out there. All right? It's all about playing better horn. Let's do it. Talk to you again.